Welcome to Beers and Biscuits, a dogcast for the rest of us. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Karen.
Grab a beverage, give your dog a biscuit, and enjoy the conversation.
And Nicole, what are you drinking tonight? What is your beverage?
So, I'm going to end this season the way I started it, and that is with a very tasty hard cider. This is Storm Along Tropical Voyage Pineapple Guava Hard Cider.
I'm really proud of us because I kind of feel like we have yet to have one actual beer on this on this season of
I
beers and biscuits.
I actually was thinking that because I think I did one and it wasn't my favorite, and I was like, maybe this should be anything except for beers and biscuits.
We're gonna rename it to beverages and biscuits.
That sounds about right. So, Karen, what is the biscuit that you have today?
This episode's biscuit is obviously something CJ wants because you can hear him whining in the background. He may need to leave the room. But it is called Snickety Snacks, which, first of all, A plus for the name. But Snickety Snacks Poppers. And the flavor we are highlighting this week is bacon and cheese. Because who doesn't love bacon and cheese?
Yes.
Well, probably vegans and lactose intolerant people. So I see you, vegans and lactose intolerant people.
Well, I mean, the vegans would cover both the
Oh, that's true.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Good.
true. Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
My bad.
Anyway.
Again, I still see you, vegans. Clearly not well, but I see you.
Yeah. We're wrapping up season 1.
I have to admit, when I was making my notes for this episode, I wrote it down and I wrote season 1 wrap up. And I got a little emotional. I was like, oh man, the wrap up already? I've had so much fun.
Yeah. I did too. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of us. I'll say that. I'm proud of us because I mean, let's be honest, neither one of us had any clue what we were doing, anything about how to do this. We didn't know where to start. We didn't know, how to edit things, which obviously, we're still learning these things, but yeah, I mean, even just learning how to like get it out there and get it on a platform, like I'm proud of us. I'm proud of what we have done so far.
I agree completely. I feel like it has been a learning curve. I would say probably more that's not how I want to phrase it, but I just feel like you have done such a phenomenal job because you've done most of the editing. And I am consistently so happy with the way it turns out. And like you said, getting it out there and making the effort, especially when this isn't our full time job. We have full time jobs and lives outside of this. So it's really cool to see that we've been able to create something that I think we're both really proud of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the obviously the behind the scenes conversations we had and or have, and the perfectionist part of my brain has struggled because, obviously we are amateurs at this and we are still learning things, and that's hard for me to reconcile sometimes with myself. And so that has been a pretty big learning curve for me, is to be okay with where we're at in that learning journey and not, I guess, not be too hard on myself that we're not like, this professional podcast that has a million viewers and sounds like we're in fancy schmancy recording studio. And so that's been hard for me, but I'm trying. I'm trying.
And I have to say, you've done a very good job at trying because I initially, in the beginning, we had so many conversations about just like the sound quality alone. Because I mean, we started in Zoom and now we're in a more, professional setting, I would say. And
Right.
I think the best part about it for me, besides doing this with somebody that I really truly like, has been the viewers or the listeners, I should say. And I know this is always so cheesy to say because it seems like what every person says. But it's true that the people listening have had such nice things to say,
Right.
and not one of them has said anything about the sound quality. I think the only negative, and it wasn't even a negative comment that we got, was, can you slow down the captions because they go too fast. And that was it. So the people have been so fantastic, and so thank you for just listening to what we have to say.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And I hope, obviously our hope is that it does grow a little bit. I'm not looking for podcast where we become famous and we go on tour or whatever.
Excuse me. Excuse, that's my hopes and dreams. We're taking this on tour, honey. Come on now. No, no, I know what you mean. Sorry.
Honestly, I know it sounds so cliche, and I hate cliches, but truly, if we help one person or if we help one guardian to not feel so alone in their journey, then we've succeeded. And again, I don't want that to sound so cheesy and corny and cliche, but I mean, that is truly how I feel.
Well, and I think you can rest assured, because I think even in the recording process, there have been some conversations that we've had that have made me feel less alone. And sometimes we forget that other professionals need that too. And yes, that this is a podcast more geared towards the guardians, but I do think what we have to say is valid, and I think it's hitting home. So I don't think it's cliche at all to want to help people, especially when animals are involved.
Right. All right. Are you ready?
I am so ready. I'm so ready.
All right, I'm going to start this with an icebreaker question for you. Okay, are you ready? If you were forced to do this and you had no other choice,
Ooh.
what would be the absolute worst job you could ever have?
The absolute worst job I could ever have. Is it too bold and too controversial to say, like, a politician?
No, I think that's appropriate.
First of all, I can't kiss people's behinds, and CJ agrees. And also, it just seems like a truly terrible job. And I, I don't want to wear a suit every day. Please don't even ask me to put on real pants every day. And no, I'm no. So a politician would probably be it for me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not being able to swap out one set of pajamas for another set of pajamas so that I could go to work.
Right, right. All right. So my turn now to ask you a bit of an icebreaker question. And this is going to start off sounding like your typical one. Do you need to leave? Can you keep it together?
Get it together, CJ.
Get it together. That I didn't mean come closer, but okay. So, my question for you is, what famous person, dead or alive, would you want to be by your side during the zombie apocalypse?
That's a good question. Hmm. I don't know. That could go so many ways. Like, who's like a famous survivalist? I don't know.
Right? Like, would you want somebody to defend you, or would you want somebody that's going to make you laugh, or like, what would you want?
I mean, I guess it really depends on the zombies. Like, are we talking like are we talking Zombieland zombies or are we talking, you know
Look, if there's a zombie apocalypse and we get the, yeah, like if we get the kind that are like sprinting at you, I'm
Right,
just going down. I'm not, I
right.
don't want to run. But if we get like the Walking Dead ones where they just kind of follow along, that's a little different.
They just kinda amble. They're like, "We got time. We got time."
For me personally, I'll help kind of give you a hint on this one. It would be Clint Eastwood in his
Oh,
prime.
yes.
You know, come on.
Ah, in his prime? I mean, I'd take him today.
Yeah, I would too. Let's not like,
Today.
but I'm like, it's from different viewpoints. Like today, I just want to look at you. Back in the day, you'd be able to help me survive. So, you know,
Go with that. I could go with that or somebody I don't know anybody that's a famous, like, archer because I feel like if we're, like, in the midst of the zombie apocalypse, we're gonna eventually run out of supplies, and I feel like having the skills of using a bow and arrow to kill things would really be helpful.
well, then I suppose you could kind of go like, what was that girl? I'm terrible with actors and actresses' names, but the one that played Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games.
Yes, Jennifer Lawrence.
She used a bow and arrow.
I would want Katniss, obviously.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, for
So
sure. Okay, I'll do that. I'm gonna say I'll take Katniss Everdeen for a 500.
perfect.
I'm gonna start getting a little heavy with the questions, okay? Looking back to when we first started, what were you feeling then, and what are you feeling now?
I think if I'm going to be perfectly honest here, I think it was, I don't know how to phrase this, but in the beginning, I feel like maybe stick with me on this one. Don't be mad at first, okay? Like a lack of commitment, if that makes sense. Because like for me, I'm very much like a seat of your pants person. Like I don't put a lot of, I don't put a ton of thought into things. I'm just like, let's do a podcast. Let's do a podcast. And now I like to think I'm more committed in it. Like I'm more aware of the effort that it really takes and that I can't just always wing it, if that makes sense.
Right, right. No, it does make sense, and I know that we kind of talked about that too, about that being one of the things maybe that actually would work in our favor because we are very opposite in that respect. And so I think if you had 2 people that were very, "Let's just go with the flow," that we probably would not have gotten anywhere.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
But I think your but I think your approach to it also helped me to not be so rigid with things. I think that's a good play off of each other, I think.
I feel like I remember like the first couple of episodes we did, you would text me or you would email and it would be like I was doing all this research on this topic and like there'd be like links to like studies. And while I love a good study, like if I'm not researching it for like a client or something, I'm not going to be like, yeah. And so like I was kind of overwhelmed in the beginning. I was like, I'm not doing enough. And there's still times where I feel like I could be doing more, but I feel like that's kind of always going to be there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel that way too.
So
So,
like you said, having those two different perspectives, it's really helpful because we would probably still be talking about Katniss Everdeen if I didn't have you to bring me back to what we're trying to do.
I mean, we probably would still be talking about it, you know. So I think us having those different perspectives, I think really has been helpful.
So then I think kind of in that same breath is, and this is going to be kind of hard, and I don't think it's a fair question, but it leads into some other questions I have for you. These were not my prepared ones. This just popped into my brain while we were chatting because like I really want to talk. I really want to address one of the questions that came in, but I feel like I have to get us there. um,
Okay.
and it's what has been your favorite topic so far? And I'm not saying like favorite guest because we've loved all of our guests. I'm just saying what has been the one that you've most enjoyed getting out there to the public.
Oh, I mean, I think that's hard to answer because I think while I'm not jumping up and down, ecstatic, happy, over the moon about the conversations that we've had about grief, I think those were the most impactful for people. So in that respect, I feel like that's, kind of my favorite topic. But I think in terms of us kind of like going through and recording and having fun and preparing the questions and things like that for. I don't know, I kind of feel like it's a toss up. I feel like I thoroughly enjoyed the agency topic and how we can embrace that more. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with those 2.
Nice. So that kind of leads me into my next question for you. And this one, I feel like we could kind of be here all night. But what is the next topic? What haven't we talked about yet that you're really looking forward to having a conversation about?
I mean, honestly, I really want to get more Guardian stories out there. I want to hear more from Guardians about their journey, whether it's their journey of healing, their journey of growth, or even just their journey of acceptance of where they and their dog are at. I feel like those are the ones that I really want to explore more, and I wanna make more available for other people that need to hear that.
But no, I completely agree with that. I think we have some really interesting stuff coming up in season two, some really good conversations because like you said, ultimately the goal isn't to teach people about specific training modalities or whatever, but it's to make people feel less alone because as wonderful and as amazing as dog ownership is and as wonderful and as amazing as we're told it is, it can be a very lonely and isolating experience at the same time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in the very first in our pilot, I think I said that I wanted to do this because I had a lot of things I wanted to say. And while I still feel that way, I feel more like I want to be more of a safe place for other guardians to have their say. We could just be like every other dog podcast and come up with a topic, and we'll have another trainer on and we'll just talk about that training topic. Been there, done that. You know what I mean? We could have done our grief podcast and had, grief counselors on. Instead, I want to try to give different and maybe less conventional perspectives on topics that tie into training, behavior, how we treat our dogs, how we're treated as dog guardians. And so I feel like it's a lot more than just training.
Absolutely. And I think that was so important to both of us to share outside of the training world because as dog professionals, we kind of get pigeonholed into that's all we are. And sometimes it feels like we're not allowed to experience grief or anxiety or trepidation around things because we're just supposed to know how to handle it because this is what we do for a job.
I was thinking on the way home today, kind of preparing myself for this, and my thought was, kind of to piggyback on what you said about, as trainers or in as a professional, we're just assumed to have either never gone through these things because we're a professional, or somehow like we're all supposed to have these perfect dogs, which I mean, obviously, we know that that's not a thing. I think, yeah, I mean, I think us kind of prompting these conversations and giving our own perspectives of them and what we've had to deal with also as guardians, I think it helps to kind of open that door for people to understand that at the end of the day, we're just guardians too. We have had all the same problems and we experience a lot of the same things. And I want to hear that. I want to hear from people that don't have the perfect dog. So basically, I'm saying I just want everybody. I want everybody to come on and tell their story, the whole world. So yeah, I mean, I think it does tie into a little bit of that we are just normal dog guardians too.
Absolutely. I hope that we are bridging that gap between dog trainer and dog guardian because I also feel like sometimes coming in, clients, guardians have these feelings and these expectations that they aren't good enough because they've needed the help.
Right.
And I try very hard, and I know you do too, to make people feel like that's not the case. But that's us only reaching one person at a time.
Right.
And hopefully, this reaches more people so that they know because I remember, and I think I talked about it. Like when I first started training, I was like, who's going to want to work with a dog trainer whose dog is reactive? And there was so much shame there. Let's get rid of that. That's not the way this works anymore. We're all in this together.
Right. Exactly. All right. My second question for you then. I basically just copied your question, but is there anything that stands out in particular, a thought or a topic that you feel you've personally really learned something from?
That we've already talked about, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly hard to pick just one, but I have to say, for me, I think our conversation with Chelsea about the zoo world and how it can and does relate to the dog world. I think just learning about that whole perspective because I've never worked in a zoo before. I don't know anything about tigers. So I that was a really meaningful conversation for me. Like I took a lot of weight from that. So that would probably be the one that I learned the most from. But I loved all of our other guests. I learned stuff from them too. Especially Jamie too, just feeling a kinship there with her about our reactive shepherds.
Right.
All right, so my next question, I'm going to try to lighten the mood. Not, I think this has still been light, but bring it back kind of an icebreaker. If you could be reincarnated as any animal, which would you choose?
Oh, okay. Which animal on the planet has had the least amount of human intervention?
Probably like a something in the sea then.
Um, yes, I would like to be a deep seawater fish that has never had to experience human beings before. No, seriously. I mean, I feel like saying I would like to be a dog is just too easy, but I don't know. I kind of feel like a seabird of some sort. I remember as a kid dating myself again, reading the book by oh, no, I can't remember now, but Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and I just remember thinking, "I would want to be a seagull." And so that's what I'm going with, a seagull.
According to a quick Google search while we're doing this, it is by Richard Bach.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, so looking at our experience as a whole, from us just having like a kind of not throwaway conversation, but just a kind of conversation about, "Hey, maybe we should do this thing." So from that point to this point, wrapping up season 1, what is your biggest takeaway from the overall experience?
My biggest takeaway would have to be just how similar we all are. And again, that's kind of one of those like cliche things to say, but consistently from our conversations to the guests we've had on, and I'm not just talking about like the love we have for our animals. That's there. We know that. But this consistent feeling of wanting better for our dogs, if I can put words into our guests' mouths and yours. But I just feel like we all want better. We all feel like we're kind of trying on our own and we're getting there. But by having these conversations, we're going to feel less alone. That's kind of been my takeaway from the whole season, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel the same.
I just feel like you came in with all these really good, serious questions, and I didn't.
That's okay. That's how it's supposed to
but
go.
but and I feel like that is the perfect representation of what we were talking about before. You come in thoroughly researched and prepared, and I'm just like, yeah, I got 3 questions. We're good. But I guess my next question would just be where do you and maybe we kind of already touched on this a little bit in the beginning, but what do you ultimately hope and see for this podcast as we head into season 2? And what would you in that same breath, what would you do different in season 2 or what are we going to do different, do you think?
I think what I would like to do differently for season 2 is I would like us to be more on location with people. It's convenient, obviously, to have this where we don't live so close, but we don't live that far either. But I would like to definitely be on location more. I would even love to do a show where we're, like, literally out in public and just asking people questions. I mean, I don't know how realistic that is, but I mean, I would like to do that. Yeah, and I think definitely maybe getting deeper into some of our conversations. I know when we first started this, like the research and everything that I did, they said for initial, you should do like 20 to 40 minutes max for an episode. But I feel like confining ourselves to such a small time frame, to such a small time frame, we actually ended up missing a lot of really deep aspects of our conversations that we could have gotten more into.
I completely agree. I think, especially with like the agency conversation, I feel like there's so much more to be said there to once again, bring it back to how we started the show with icebreakers. If you could be on any game show, which would you go on?
Oh, I mean, obviously it would have to be Jeopardy. I mean, that's just my speed.
Oh, that's a good one. What was that one? It was like, oh, never mind. I don't even remember the name. I can't even describe it. But I'm a Price is Right girl.
Yeah, I mean, or really any 70s game show really. Like I miss those.
That's like when like game shows were. I can't say it how I was going to say it. I was going to say that's when game shows were the tits, but I don't think we can say that.
Oh, the other one I would totally be on is Family Feud.
Ooh, that looks fun. Ooh, I think I remembered the name of it. It was Legends of the Hidden Temple on like I think it was like Nickelodeon or
Oh
something.
god, okay.
It was yeah, it was such the stupidest game show. This like I don't even remember what the point was, what you won, but it looked so much fun.
Yeah. I'm a little too old to go back to Nickelodeon.
Nah, it's you're fine. You're fine. But see, this is what I'm talking about right here. This is why I need you involved in this because we've just spent 5 minutes talking about game shows because my mind went for it. I need you to bring me back, Nicole.
Bring it in. Bring it in. Reel it in, Karen. Reel it in. Wrapping it up, and I feel like I can speak for you as well, as from the very, very bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody that has listened. Even if you're that one person that only listened to like the first 2 minutes of every episode, thank you, whoever you are, because you still contribute to our numbers. So thank you. Everyone that has supported us, who has listened, who has wanted to come on here with us and be interviewed by us, knowing that we didn't have any clue what we were doing. I really am so thankful, truly thankful for everyone.
Absolutely, and I just have to agree with you completely. And even the people who have taken the time to share our stuff, to comment, send us that text message, send us the kind words. We're so thankful that you are behind these two gals that decided to go for it.
So, with that, Karen's getting a little emotional over there. So,
Yeah, I am. I just am so proud of what we've done, and I'm gonna let you wrap this up.
we hope that you have enjoyed the conversation. Please don't forget to give your dog a biscuit from us.